What's up, everybody? Hopefully, this audio is okay enough for you guys, but thought I'd try something different. Um, it's still a vlog, we're still going to talk and everything like that. I was going to record outside, but I'm kind of one of those. I don't like when people are like possibly overhearing me, and like I have neighbors, so I was like, I would feel weird if I was talking too loud or anything like that. So, especially when you know you're talking to yourself and not like somebody on the phone. So, we moved it inside. I've kind of been, I won't say pacing around, but like I keep moving and I find something, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta finish that. Oh, I gotta do that. So today's theme of the day is definitely. Do you ever feel like you've bitten off more than you can chew, type of thing? Like to me, it's always like a blessing and a curse because if you have things going on, that's usually a good thing. It's like okay, well, you have passions, you have hobbies, you have friends that you want to hang out with or events you want to go see or whatever. So it's like it's a good thing. But then you always have to consider like the burnout, the fallout. Are you getting enough rest? Are you getting enough meals? If you push yourself too hard, is that going to lead you getting sick? So for me, like I love spring. Summer's fun too. So there's certain days when it gets too hot, you just kind of want to be a couch potato, or like you just, especially if you're outside, which I do work outside, you just want to come home in the AC and like kick your feet up. But the spring and the fall with baseball and stuff starting, as you can see me rocking my Tennessee merch. I was supposed to stream the Tennessee game today versus Florida, which I really wanted to see, but I guess ESPN Plus does not partner with SEC Plus. I thought that was kind of like an umbrella thing. Like if you bought it, you got all this stuff. Doesn't work like that. So had to cancel that, and that kind of threw a wrench into like all my scheduling plans for all the sports, college sports that I wanted to do. So, you know, cranked out a little schedule, went through my top 5, 6 teams that I wanted to see, wrote down all the time frames where they're actually on TV, and then kind of like went down a list of like, all right, well, I'm gonna put Tennessee tops above everything else. So unless they have a lame matchup, which I mean, if it's on TV, it's on ESPN or whatever, it's probably gonna be a pretty solid matchup. So went through, redid my list, added I want to say it was like 10 games, and left off like 11. Two of them it's the same weekend as WrestleMania. I don't want to have any distractions for that. Other ones, it was like, well, these are Friday nights. I want to watch SmackDown or hang out in Nick's stream. I think there was one or two that was on like Saturday where something else was going on. It was like, I could use a day off. One was on a Tuesday where I was just like, usually I watch Raw on Mondays. I don't get enough rest. I was like, I don't want to risk starting my work week off where I'm like tired, tired, tired. So I guess that's like I said, the theme or whatever is like it's good to be busy, but you need to plan like your rest days, your time off. I don't know if you can hear that because Violet just decided she's gonna start chewing on her bottle. So hold on. All right, we got Violet a little chewy toy or whatever that's not gonna make as much noise because yeah, it did come across. But when I go down the list or whatever of like hobbies or things I'm working on. So obviously we got college baseballs going on, so trying to incorporate that stuff into the stream schedule this year. And there'll be baseball stuff. Is we're in spring training, spring breakouts this weekend. So now that I'm not going to watch the Tennessee game, I think I got 2 games that I want to watch tonight. Also LFG with the wrestling stuff. Been watching that with Nick and Jinder and Jason, so that's been pretty fun. It's only like 8 episodes, so that'll be done in no time. I every year I start my plants from seeds, so I got those started. Those are all pretty much peppers. I think there's a little bit of like tomatoes and something else. And then I got one other tray that's just basils, which I found out today. One of them already sprouted, which I'm not super shocked, but I'm also kind of a little surprised because usually you give them like a week before anything happens, but this one like popped, sprouted already. It's only been 3 days, so. But yeah, I normally start my stuff Super Bowl weekend, which for some people that might be early, but that's usually what I do because if there's certain seeds you've had for a while, and like, you know, depending on where you are or how you store them, they might only be good for 2 years, maybe 3 if you're good or lucky. And I have some that are 3, 4, maybe even going on 5 years. So I'm like, I need to either use these or I need to throw them out because I don't know if they're still gonna be potent. So definitely use a lot of those up this year. And like through like when you do your seeds or whatever, like peppers or whatever, you can throw one in the thing and you're good. Some of the smaller stuff like basils, they're so tiny that it's you're kind of afraid that like it didn't fall where you want because they stick to your fingers, so you might throw like 2 or 3 or 4 in there. So I kind of was like overly eager on some of these because it was like, well, I got 6 spots, but I only have 8 seeds, so it's just like, all right, we'll just throw that in there in case one of these dies. So got our seeds started. I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm recently getting into Dungeons and Dragons kind of. I don't want to say community, but like learning the game, learning how to play. Friend of mine basically created kind of like a beginner thing for us, um, which I'm enjoying. I'm having fun with, and it also helps me like learn how to play without too much like pressure or too much like. It's like, really, Violet, really. I just gave you that treat that she already finished. But so I'm learning that, and then at the same time, I'm like listening to a podcast that's like gets my creative juices flowing. So I'm trying to basically create a Red Rising adaptation from the Player's Handbook Dungeons and Dragons 5e, and I'm using Chat GPT to help me kind of figure it out. So we got some of the like main characters, like their character sheets kind of created. I think I have like a weapon system created, general class thing created. But I mean, like some of this stuff takes hours. Like I think right now I basically be like, hey, make these characters based off of this with this information, and then like I'll have to wait an hour and come back and they'll be made. Which I thought was kind of weird because I thought it was like AI, it should be like boop 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 formula whatever and they get going. So, but I mean it has been like really good, and I flirted around with some of the like maps and stuff like that, and it hasn't really been what I wanted. Like, I created like a bar scene or whatever, but it had like with couches and or whatever, and booths in the corner. But then they would have like the booths with no way for you to enter it. So it was like, okay, maybe that stuff needs a little bit of work. But that's another thing I'm working on, and trying to do these vlogs every weekend. I know I missed one. Um, baseball recap. I think that's been doing pretty well for me, and I enjoy that stuff too. I'm always kind of the guy where I'm like, I like doing the research. I don't mind doing the editing if it's, not tedious. But I've never ever been the one that's like, man, I really want to be the guy on camera. Like, to me, I'm always like, I'd rather be the guy behind the scenes, making somebody else sound good or look smart or try something new or different. So that's always my like give and take when it comes to like streaming or YouTube or Twitter or whatever. It's like I've never been the guy that likes to promote myself. It always feels weird. Like even when I was an athlete and like my younger days and was like, I think most guys are, depending on how much you like sports. When you're in middle school or you're maybe even high school, okay, you're probably a top 10 athlete, whatever. I feel like that's pretty common. So like, it's not a big ego thing or whatever, but it was like, when I was in middle school and I never ran track or anything like that, but then the basketball coach was like, well, we're going to be a running team, so you guys need to go to track. And then we'd go and like do our times or whatever to see what we get. And, I was always like top 3 in most of the stuff that were like sprints or like 100s, 200s, 400s, whatever. And like I knew I was fast, but I've always felt like I'm more quick and more agile. And I did like long jump. I could never really figure out triple jump, so I never did that. But like I could do all these different things. I never figured out long jump either. It was weird jumping off of like 1 foot and whatever. But I did all this stuff, and to me it was just like, all right, I'm gonna try. I might not be the fastest, I might not be the best, but I'm gonna give it my all. And I've had coaches that have always kind of said that, like I just love your attitude, man. Like whenever a big game comes up, I know you're not gonna get shook. I know you're not gonna like collapse under the pressure or whatever, because you just have that attitude of like, I'm here, I'm good, I'm gonna give it my all, and whatever happens, happens. And so, like when we were in conference or whatever it was for track, like our end all be all or whatever, like you they have these averages or your maxes or whatever that they base like your spots off of like a 100 or 200, a long jump, whatever. And I like outperformed every single one of my metrics. And he was just like, you're like a big game player. I just expect you to show up and do your best in big moments. Even basketball is the same way. And I always kind of like kept that mentality of just like, even if you're like pitching and you're struggling or whatever, it's like don't give them the satisfaction. So like have that like stoic face or whatever, and just like focus on the next hitter. Like focus on what you can control. Your breathing, your think through your head and your wind up. Like basketball. Like okay, well I'm getting a little bit tired. Maybe I need to cheat a little here or there. Like just focus on what you can control. And really, I guess to bring this full circle, that's kind of the same thing I'm doing here. I got a lot of different things that take time, take my interests, whether it's creatively food ways and learning how to garden and grow stuff, learning how to play and be a dungeon master, I guess, in Dungeons and Dragons. Got streaming stuff, new video games coming. I know Last of Us season 2 should be starting, I think, in April or May. So that's a whole other series thing that'll be coming eventually. And then by God, I'm still working full time, and I got a dog that I take care of. So I would like to get her. This is probably something that I'll wait until after all this shenanigans is over in like August or September. But I'm considering getting another dog. I know I would definitely want to foster first to make sure like it would be good in this apartment and it would be good with her. And it's not even about her. I think she's good with like every dog and she's super social. So that's kind of why I want another one. Is because I feel bad going to work and being away for 9-10 hours, and I see her on my little doggy cam, and she's just hanging out, sleeping, not doing anything. Like she doesn't really even play with her toys much if somebody's not around with her. Like it's almost like she feels like she's got to be on guard at all times, or she's got to be asleep. So I'm kind of like, well, I don't want you to. Dogs don't live that long, so it's like say she only lives to be like 12 or something. I don't want you to spend 2/3 of your life just sleeping, waiting for me to come back. Like that's just kind of sad. So if I get another dog, at least she's got a friend and a buddy to hang out with. Even if they're just hanging out, sleeping together, at least she's got some type of comfort with her as well. So I'm considering that. Don't know if I want to pay for it, but I'm definitely not going to do it until after summer, spring, leading into fall, because another thing I got to consider is we kind of started. So back up, I guess. My family, my dad, my grandpa, and my uncles, who other than my dad have all since passed away. They used to have this trip where they go on a fishing trip to Canada, and like we're from Illinois, and they would drive north, and they pick up like the uncles that lived in Wisconsin, and then they keep driving to Canada. They had a spot there, and I still want to go up there, but just since me and my brother are kind of in the South, it would be a waste of like 4 days to drive all that, and it's just not worth it. So we've kind of started our own little like boys fishing trip that we did in South Carolina last year. And it was a really cool spot, and we like Airbnb and kind of like rented out this cabin, with like electronics bed and everything like that. And in the backyard was like a lake, and so we fished there like every day. Didn't have a lot of success, but it was still nice to kind of be out there, and it's quiet and you're in nature and everything like that. So I've reached out to my brother, and I was just like, especially your parents are getting older. I think my parents are in their about to get in their 70s, I think. So it's like, dad's about to retire. My mom is retired, but she still kind of works part time and helps everybody under the sun that she can. So, it's like my mom, I want her to actually enjoy her retirement and like go on trips. And, her and my brother went on a whale trip to Alaska 2 years ago. And so he wants to take her on another trip. I think she wanted to go to Niagara Falls. So I'm like, please do that. Please do that. My brother makes more money than me. He's got more vacation time. So I'm like, please do that. But I was like, on the other end, like, my dad's still around. He's still healthy. Still getting around. You know, definitely sore. You know, guy comes from blue collar and concrete and all that stuff. So gonna have your aches and pains. I feel that. But while he's still getting around, while he's still moving fine and healthy enough, like let's get him on these fishing trips. So to me, I'm trying to make this like an annual thing, and it doesn't even have to be the same spot. We can rotate every year, but like I want to get another one of these fishing trips in, and I would like to have one where it is like the three of us, and then like I can bring Violet because last year they didn't allow dogs, so I couldn't bring her. But the whole time I was sitting in the back of my head, like checking my phone on the webcam to see how she was doing. So that's another thing we got to kind of figure out. We've been waiting on my brother because he's been trying to go to his class reunion, but I don't know what's going to happen there. But that trip, I want to go to the Rangers ballpark this year. I think I have it in August into September. So, like, if they're competitive, it's fun. If they're not competitive, then the tickets should be cheaper. But that's kind of like a ballpark road trip, also a camping trip, also a little bit of a fishing trip, and I can bring my dogs. So, got a lot of stuff coming, a lot of stuff to be excited about, and still got to maintain this YouTube channel, I guess, too. Hopefully, it keeps growing as fast as it has been. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be a million subs anytime soon, but slow and steady, man. You get progress that way. So appreciate you guys listening. Appreciate you guys following and being here. So take it easy.